Morning, Anton. I'm Lindiwe Mahlangu-Kwele, CEO of Johannesburg Tourism Company. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks very much for joining us here at World Travel Market. Joburg, you're a real high at the moment.
Absolutely, and thanks to the successful hosting of the World Cup, as you might know that we were the epicenter of the FIFA World Cup 2010 in South Africa. We were the host to the opening ceremony, the closing ceremony, the host to the International Broadcast Center, and obviously Joburg after the World Cup has never looked the same.
Now it's fantastic how it's changed the perception of the city of the tournament. For you, what were your personal highlights of hosting the tournament?
My highlights really was to really position Joburg and showcase Joburg for what it is to the rest of the world, because the world knew Joburg but for all the wrong reasons, and we were able to really dispel the myths and stereotypes about who we are, but more importantly just to get an affirmation of the confidence of all the team, most of the teams who were playing during the World Cup, because we were the host to 19 teams out of the 32 teams. So that tells a lot, you know, and the fact that we were host to about 5,000 international journalists in Joburg. So people have a clear view of who we are as a destination, and we're very excited. And obviously our responsibility as Joburg Tourism is to actually ensure that we sustain the momentum and that we take advantage of these opportunities presented by the World Cup to really entrench Joburg as Africa's premier business, leisure and sporting event destination.
Now, the Archbishop Desmond Tutu, he said that the World Cup was a fantastic building block and the foundation to build a greater South Africa, and for you, a greater Joburg. How do you go about now continuing that legacy so that the tournament does help you propel you to new heights?
Absolutely, he was right, because again it's also a nation building exercise. The South Africans were never unified like this before since 1994 during the first democratic election. So obviously it has enabled us to grow closer together as a nation, as a rainbow nation, but more importantly it's about the skills that were acquired through the hosting of such a magnificent event. And obviously from a hospitality industry point of view, it's about an increased service standards, improved service standards. It's about the quality assurance. So we've got everything that you can find around the world. And more importantly, it's the upgraded integrated public transport network. We have the cow train now, which takes you about 15 minutes from OR Tambo Airport to Sandton, which is something that people have been complaining about because of congestion. We are a major city, so you'll expect congestions around the road. So now in trying to decongest the roads, we have introduced an integrated public network, public transport network. But more importantly is the additional diverse range of products in terms of accommodation for a diverse range of audience, you know, people with the high-end market, as well as the low budget hotels around the city. So we're very excited. So for us, really, Joburg can host any other major event around the world at any level, because we've got the infrastructure now. We just need to make sure that we fill those stadiums, because we've got the big 3 stadiums around the city, and we've got the big 4 venues, you know, just to host all the major conferences and events. So as Joburg Tourism, we've got so much ahead of us.
Now, do you have any big events planned?
Absolutely. In next year, or in February, from the 23rd to the 26th, Joburg is the host to Meetings Africa, which we are trying to really build as one of the mass visit business tourism trade show in Africa, because Joburg is the powerhouse. We are the economic hub, and we see Meetings Africa as a catalyst to enable us to really position the city as a business tourism destination.
Now, Africa as well, it's growing at different rates, but it's one of the fastest growing continents in the world, and it's kind of negotiated through the recession. Do you see Joburg as almost becoming the capital and the business hub of the whole continent?
Absolutely, and right now we are recognized as such. And also, even if you look in the South African context, Anton, the government expects other provinces to grow at between 3 to 6%, but Joburg has a responsibility of growing at an average of 9% per annum. So obviously it's because of the recognition of the role that we play as a powerhouse, as an economic hub for the entire region in Africa.
Now, in terms of key markets, has the World Cup changed which countries are coming to you, or which countries potentially might come to you? And where do you see the opportunities for growth?
Strange enough, obviously it's about retention and growth, and the World Cup has actually enabled us to start exploring new market. We're seeing more Russians growing so much interest into Joburg. We're seeing more and more, obviously the North Americans, they've always wanted to come to Joburg, but even South Americans, we've been hosting the inbound to operators from the South American market. We're seeing more interest from most of the countries around the world, and again our responsibility is to make sure that we have an interactive engagement with them so that they understand what we've got to offer. And more important, people know that we're big in terms of sport, we're big in terms of meetings, conferencing and event, and now we want to really intensify our incentive product offering, because we've got so many incentive offerings to give to our visitors.
And one of from a tourism and travel point of view, one of the highlights of the World Cup was one of your programs that you conducted in Alexander Township to ensure that all the young tour guides from there get opportunities to train up and gain skills that are going to help them. Do you have any plans to continue such projects?
Absolutely. It's all about adherence to the responsible tourism guideline, and everything that we do for every event that we host in our city, we make sure that as part of the youth ambassador and the tour guide program, the youth at a very early stage are introduced to tourism as a potential curriculum and as a potential career for their future. So for us, it's not only about targeting the previously disadvantaged students, but it's also about opening up their eyes in terms of the role that the hospitality industry plays as a catalyst and as well as an economic development sector. So yes, during Meetings Africa, we will have that youth offering tours, because we are just 5 minutes away from the sentence city. Alexandra is just a drop away from sentence. So we will be working very closely with them. But more importantly, we work with the University of Johannesburg to ensure that those children that get good grade at the end of the matric, they are able to get bursaries so that they can actually pursue their tourism careers at a higher learning institution.
Okay, Lindiwe, well, thanks very much for joining us today at World Travel Market.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.